Our next guest gets accolades worldwide as one of the great practitioners and advocates of early music. He is one of the best, if not the best, harpsichordists in the world. It was our great fortune that he happened to marry a Canadian. Now he makes this place his home and gives us the bragging rights of saying so. He is the musical director of Vancouver's Pacific Baroque Orchestra, but also director of the Seattle Baroque Orchestra. And this dual role has given our region the critical mass to attract even more talent. So please welcome, no, not from Munich, from Vancouver, Alexander Weimann.
Dear Lynn, dear Sam, thanks for this warm introduction. It's a great honor for me to be here. And whether it's going to be a delight, I guess you and I will find out soon. Public Salon, I think in those two words we find a beautiful blend of feelings that I have experienced speaking with Lynn and Sam in preparation of tonight, which is a warm welcome, personal welcome, and at the same time the concept of sharing with a bigger crowd. And welcoming the new and the foreign actually has been a big theme for my adult life. I was born in Munich and grew up there, studied, became a musician, and traveled many countries before work brought me to Montreal in 2001. And while it was work that brought me there, it was love that kept me. And I met who later hesitantly, but then decided to marry me. I lived in Berlin actually at that time, and once we were married and my wife was pregnant with our first son, who is actually here tonight, I decided to give up my place in Berlin and become first a permanent resident in Canada and then later a Canadian citizen. After a while in Montreal, we decided to move here. After a dozen or so years in Montreal, we moved to Vancouver, and I have to admit that I did feel a certain amount of trepidation doing so, because I lived in Munich for a long time, then in Berlin, then in Montreal. So all of those are cities with a very vibrant musical life. And I knew that Vancouver is the city of physical culture, but I didn't know much beyond that. And I was a little fearful. However, I have not felt any kind of regret ever. And in a certain way, tonight's event proves me wrong in assuming that Vancouver would be a city of less culture than any other wonderful and big city. That miraculous chain of welcoming has not ended after becoming a Canadian citizen. Actually, the most recent federal election was the first one I could be part of, and look what happened. My main job tonight, though, is to perform for you, and in our field, the field of what we call early music, we believe that instruments do matter. So you don't see a modern piano here on stage, but what we call a harpsichord, which is to some extent the ancestor. And instruments do matter. I mean, imagine a marital fight and you have a saucer in your hand. That's one thing. If you had a more serious weapon in your hand, it may take a different turn. So this is, compared to the modern piano, the more mellow version, I would say. And that's going to be the instrument for tonight. I just see some first-degree nudity in that lid. So I rely on your discretion. Oh yeah, the piece I'm going to play is by a composer who is as much a German as he is English, George Friedrich Handel. And the ones amongst you who had piano lessons earlier in their lives may know this piece. It's called a chaconne in G major, and some of you may have been tantalized with that piece. It's very beautiful.